Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make this crochet dice. I've been seeing these all over Pinterest, but I can't find the crochet pattern, so I made my own. I think this is a great use for game nights or a teaching tool. And today I used white and black, so I'm making a traditional dice. You'll need 2 different colors of yarn, the corresponding crochet hook, an embroidery needle to sew our project together, and then I have my makeshift pegboard here. Starting off, we're going to be making our sides. So for this, I'm using white yarn and a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Always check the back of your yarn to make sure you're using the right size hook so you don't have any big holes or too tight of a project. To start, I use a Slipknot, so here I am making that. And then right away for row 1, we're going to just chain 30. Okay, once you've completed your 30 chains, we're going to chain 1 more, and you're going to see why. After that, we're going to look back at our back side of our chain so you can kind of see the braided front, and those little bumps on the back is what we're going to be chaining into. So for this row 2, we're going to be going into those backs. So the first one we have, sometimes it can be tricky to get in there. Nails help. And then we're going to be doing some single crochets. So this is a great project for beginners if you're working on single crochets. It can be kind of frustrating, but all we're doing here is a row of single crochet. Okay, once you've finished row 2 on that last single crochet we have left, we're going to finish off in that final loop. Perfect. Once we've done that, you are done with row 2. I'm going to chain 1. Then I'm going to turn my project around so we can start row 3. Okay, row 3. We're going to be going into that first chain, so that braided side. Same thing, we're just doing another round of single crochet. Okay, once we've reached the end of row 3, we're going to finish off with one last single crochet, And you can kind of find where the end is by where that last chain starts curving. That's just what helps me. You can use stitch markers. I'm choosing to be risky, I guess, today and not use them. So last single crochet, chain 1, and turn. Okay, now that you guys have the hang of that, we're going to be doing the same thing for rows 4 through 30. So single crochet down the row, chain 1, and turn. Okay, once we've done 30 rows, our project should look like this. And it's okay if it's bunched a little bit. That's why I like to use my pegboard, just to make sure that those rows are even and stretched out. Because we're making a cube, all sides should be equal. So in my last stitch, I'm finishing off with you guys. Single crochet. And then I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a little bit of wiggle room for me. Just leave that little tail. Then I'm going to pull through like I'm just tying a knot. Whoops. There we go. And then I'm going to tug on that end. And that is what's going to finish off this side. Okay, and here's our first side completed. We're doing great, you guys. It's okay if it's a little bunched up again. We're going to block it whichever way you prefer. You can use cold water, you can use a blocking board, a DIY pegboard. Really, there's a lot of options. And for a cube has 6 sides. So we're going to be making 5 more of these sides. Same thing as before. Okay, now we're going to be making our dots. So for this, we have to make 21 of these black little dots. You can use whatever color you like. For me, I chose black with the corresponding hook. So again, I have a 5.5 millimeter. Okay, to start, we're going to be making a magic circle. If you don't know how to do this, I'm going to link a couple of videos before just because this is kind of tricky. The way I do it is make the X, go in through my second, pull through my first. Okay, now my magic circle is all set up. And for the dots, we're just going to be making 15 single crochets into our magic circle. So this is what that looks like. I use both of the strings in the magic circle just because I think it makes it look better aesthetically. You don't have to. And then it's kind of hard to work with black and white yarn if you're choosing to do so. So I always go back and recount my stitches to make sure I'm not doing any more or less than I should be. Because we want all of our dots to be the same size, just like they are on a real dice. Alright, you guys, once you have 15, we're going to pull on that little tail to close our magic ring. We don't want any extra space in there because our dot should be opaque, color of your choosing. So here I am just closing that. Be a little mindful not to pull too hard if you're using acrylic yarn because it can snap and break your project, and that is always a bummer to have to start all the way over. Okay, and to finish off our ring, I'm going to be going back into that first single crochet that we made. And I'm going to be pulling through with my yarn once and twice. So now that I've made that slip stitch, I'm just retightening that hole because it's a little stubborn. And then I'm going to cut, leaving a little bit of wiggle room again. and pulling my yarn through to create a knot. And this kind of creates like a point on the circle, but you'll see what I do with the ends. So I turn to the back and I just tie these together, because first of all, it rounds off my circle, and second, it helps me have less pointy, weird ends coming out. You can kind of wiggle this and shape it how you want. I recommend double knotting at least, just to make sure that it stays tight if you throw around the pillow. Alright y'all, now we have our 21 dots and our 6 sides. This is after I blocked all mine, so they're a little bit more square. We're just going to start sewing these on to whichever side that looks better in your opinion of the square. I do this by taking my little embroidery hook and threading the same color of yarn that I used for my dots, so black. I think it's best when sewing these dots on to come from the back of it, going through that middle. And you can see I'm making kind of a star pattern for mine, going around and around. You can do this however you'd like to attach them. This is just what I think is the most secure. Alright, now once you have that first dot attached, like I said, I started from the back so then I can finish in the back. And tie my loose ends off, cut that off, and I have one side done. Beautiful! Alright, you guys, now I'm going to start my second side, so doing the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the die until you have all of your sides completed. Once you have all of your dots sewn on, it should look like this. I just have it set up to show you, and it's okay if the backs are a little messy because that's going to be the inside of the pillow and nobody's going to see it. So to sew it together, I left it up to you guys. I used a mattress stitch. You can do whatever you want. I know people that use a sew and thread. I used the same yarn technique that I used to sew on my dots. And this is the layout I use. You can look up any free pattern of a die. Once you get to this point, we're going to start stuffing. So once that last side, we're going to put all our stuffing in. You can kind of shape it at this point too before it gets to be too late, just to make sure that it's not too lumpy or bumpy or anything like that. What I like to do is sew those little loose ends together, like I'm showing you here as a guide. This just keeps my project together first of all, so it's less of a hassle when finishing it all off. And now you are done. Feel free to enjoy your new pillow.